Good Saturday afternoon to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our weekly tropical weather outlook for Saturday today, April 18th, 2026. Let's start off by taking a look at how many days we are now, as of today, till the hurricane season in the Atlantic. And we are now at 44 days, under 50 and soon to be under 40. And before you know it, we are going to be under 30 days away from the hurricane season. The clock is just ticking, and it's going to continue to speed up from now until June 1st. And it's really going to feel like, well, we really don't have that much time anymore, since next month is May, and the Eastern Pacific begins next month, as well as tropical weather bulletins in the Atlantic. And from now until then, we are less than 30 days away. So time is really speeding up now until we get to the hurricane season. Let's take a look, though, this week before we get into the rest of the discussion at what is going on globally in terms of the tropics, because I like to do this from time to time since, yes, we mainly talk about the Atlantic basin, but not always do we get activity in the Atlantic, especially right now since we're in the off season. But there is other tropical basins out there in the world, and one of them, which is active right now, is the Westpac, with Tropical Storm Sinlaku, formerly Typhoon Sinlaku, and formerly a very, very powerful, very intense typhoon. In fact, one of the strongest typhoons ever recorded in April in the Westpac. It became a Category 5 storm, and really an eye-popping, beautiful storm at that, especially if you were tracking it. And it's now a shell of its former self. Maximum sustained winds at 60 knots, 70 miles an hour, so just under typhoon or hurricane strength. They call, in the Pacific, they call typhoons hurricanes, but it's literally the same exact kind of phenomenon, with a minimum pressure of 981 millibars. And you can see the latest satellite picture of it. Looks very disheveled, definitely looking like a transitioning extratropical storm. And just taking a look at the latest Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecasts, it is going to go out to sea and just die off and probably be of nobody, at least landmass-wise, will not be a concern to anybody. So a good thing that is happening, but interesting storm nonetheless. But in a way, Sinlaku does have some sort of ties to our discussion today, and usually, as we are going to do today, it's going to be about El Nino, because in my opinion, Sinlaku is a sign that the Pacific is very primed for activity this year, and that is to be expected given that we are seeing a developing El Nino. In fact, we are pretty much right on the precipice of it happening. In fact, as I'll show you with the sea surface temperature graphs in just a little bit, we might already basically be there at this point. But it definitely shows that the Pacific is very favorable atmospherically. Obviously, because we are already producing high-end upper echelon Category 5 typhoons in April. And that really, I think, is a sign of just the kind of situation and potentially the kind of El Nino that we're going to get in the Pacific this year. And taking a look at the sea surface temperature anomaly map, again, you could just see all reds right now in the Pacific, especially this area here in the Eastern Pacific, the tropical Eastern Pacific, which is very interesting and has a lot of people talking about the potential magnitude of an Eastern Pacific season we might get, but as well along the equatorial Pacific, virtually all warm now. You do not see any more of these cooler anomalies. And in fact, let's take a wide shot of the entire Pacific, in fact, the entire globe, and you can pretty much see the warm everywhere. You could see the warm anomalies here developing off of South America as the warm pool that's underneath the Pacific continues to push eastward and surfaces. And I'll actually show you the T-depth anomalies, the anomalies below the surface, in just a little bit, but it looks all warm, and it's only going to get warmer as El Nino continues to build. And then in the Westpac, you could also see some cooler anomalies beginning to show up, although don't be deceived, the Westpac, especially in these kind of El Ninos, strong El Nino like we're going to see this year, tends to be very active, especially in the eastern part of the basin, and so we're probably going to see a lot of typhoon activity. In fact, very, very strong typhoon activity this year. Wouldn't be surprised if we have more storms like Sinlaku later this year, especially as we get into the peak months of, cyclone activity in the northern hemisphere, August and September, which of course is the peak months of the hurricane season. But sea surface temperature anomaly-wise, back to what I was talking about. Sometimes I like to rant and rave a little bit, give you interesting facts. But you see the sea surface temperature anomalies here in the Pacific, Western Pacific, some cooler anomalies, and that's probably because of the cold wake left by Typhoon Sinlaku, again, because of just how much of a powerful storm it is. Tropical cyclones tend to take heat out of the ocean and kind of disperse it into the atmosphere. It's, kind of Mother Nature's way of balancing things out, if you will. And then, of course, in the Atlantic, on the other hand, things obviously not doing so great right now in terms of sea surface temperature anomaly-wise. Well, I mean, it is good if you don't want an active hurricane season this year, but you can kind of see cooler sea surface temperature anomalies here off of Africa, and then kind of near normal to pockets of slightly above normal across the general tropical Atlantic. So, I mean, we have some warmth here, but definitely not going to counteract whatever we're going to get in the Pacific, which is already beginning to build. This is the latest Nino 3.4 sea surface temperature anomaly map. The latest value is 0.5 degrees Celsius above normal. So that is El Nino threshold. So you could pretty much say that we are already in El Nino threshold, and it's only going to build from here on out. And just take a look at how much warming we've seen over the past 15 days alone. The equatorial Pacific is warming up quite nicely, especially in the eastern half here. And again, this is only going to continue as El Nino continues to build. The SOI2 is also really reflecting that now. The latest average of the 30-day SOI is at -7. So no longer are we dealing with positive SOI. The atmosphere, that means the atmosphere is now fully beginning to couple with the developing El Nino out there. And just take a look at all the daily contribution numbers we've had, especially about a week ago. Look at these really strong numbers here. We had daily contributions to the SOI at -32, -33. This was April 9th and 10th, so roughly about a week ago from now. And then it's come back up since a little bit, but it's probably not going to really affect the average much. But yeah, we have a negative SOI now. Definitely also means that things are really coming together for El Nino in the Pacific, and the T-depth anomalies, the subsurface anomalies as well. I mean, you could just take a look at that. So much warmth in the Pacific, and again, that's all because of the westerly wind bursts that we've had, especially in the Western Pacific over the last several weeks. And that's just really allowed for this warm pool to just build and supercharge itself, and it's going to continue on its conveyor belt path to eventually make it to the Eastern Pacific and surface in the Eastern Pacific. And once again, as well, you see no more of these blue shades here in the Pacific. So no more cool anomalies. We are now setting sail straight for El Nino. In fact, if you want to go back to this graph here, you could pretty much say that we are already there. So El Nino is coming. In fact, it might be already here. So buckle up. It's going to be a very interesting few months ahead, especially in terms of tracking global tropical activity. That is for sure. And, obviously on the Atlantic side, though, probably not going to have too much, although I don't think it's, we're probably still going to get something in the Atlantic, but obviously El Nino tends to be less favorable for Atlantic activity. And, talking about that, let's transition over to sea surface temperatures right now in the Atlantic, starting off in the Gulf of Mexico. So I showed you the sea surface temperature anomalies. These are the actual sea surface temperatures, and you can see, not really primed for activity yet in the Gulf of Mexico in terms of sea surface temperatures. We still have most areas below 26 degrees Celsius, but there is a pocket here associated with the loop current beginning to make its way upward. You also have some warmth beginning to build here in the Bay of Campeche, as well as sea surface temperatures here that are marginal. Actually, 25 is already beginning to show up off the shelf waters here of the Gulf Coast, and the Gulf Coast will especially warm up very quickly. Just you wait. I mean, the Gulf Coast, because it's shelf water, it's kind of very shallow. The northern Gulf tends to be very susceptible to, huge warm ups and then huge cool downs. So when you see these sea surface temperatures here, 24, 23, maybe even some 22, shades in through here, just know that we're going to be on the complete opposite end of the scale in approximately 3 or so weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that. But trust me, in just a few weeks from now, just watch as the Gulf of Mexico is going to warm up significantly, and you're going to see this 26 degrees Celsius mark here shoot all the way northward to the Gulf Coast, and then off the southeast coast as well. Seeing how things are here, no 26 degrees Celsius shade-ins yet, but we have a pretty decent slither of 25 making its way off the southeast coast, stretching as far north as North Carolina right now, but probably going to see some 26 degree Celsius shadings here begin to fill in very soon, and probably the entire subtropics here off the southeast coast and near Bermuda as well. You're going to see this warm up pretty significantly too in the coming weeks. And then we're also going to be watching this map very closely over the coming weeks as things really begin to, shape up here in the Atlantic as we get closer towards hurricane season. We have very, very strong shear right now in the Atlantic, and it's probably going to die down somewhat, but obviously given that we're going to deal with an El Nino this year, it's still probably going to be higher than normal pretty often throughout most of the deep tropics in the Atlantic. Pretty nice frontal system here making its way eastward in the United States, and we had a pretty decent severe weather day yesterday for portions of the Midwest, and we might get some severe weather today, as I'll show you in a little bit, for portions of the eastern Midwest and Northeast here. But then that's going to move off to the east, and then you kind of see we have some of these upper level lows here. We have a low pressure here near the Azores. And then we're going to watch and see how this all transforms over the next several weeks, especially once we probably get into June. We're eventually going to start looking towards Africa as we'll start getting tropical waves to move off. And it's all going to happen in a matter of a few weeks. So we're going to be revisiting this satellite shot pretty much every single week from now on. All right, so we got that out of the way. Before we close off, as I mentioned, severe weather for portions of the Northeast and Appalachia. Today, we have a slight risk in effect for severe weather for Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and also portions of far western New York. And again, this is associated with a frontal system that's moving eastward. And we might also get some severe weather as well throughout Texas today. And the main threat here seems to be the wind, with a 15% chance. And then tomorrow, no major severe weather for day 2. And then day 3, things also looking pretty quiet as well. And that is definitely welcome since we are right now, especially since we are in April, and typically right now we are very active with our severe weather pattern. And then let's see how that shapes up over the next 4 to 8 days. Looks like we might have something to watch day 6, but so far doesn't seem like there are any major severe weather outbreaks on the horizon, at least for now, which is obviously good news, especially because a lot of people expected this severe weather season to be very active. So very interesting that things are kind of, we've had periods of activity from here and there, but it's not, off the wall craziness just yet. Probably, really kick up by the time we get to May and June. But still, it's obviously nice that we don't have anything major in terms of severe weather just yet, but that's obviously going to change as well. And of course, in just a few weeks, we will be able to look towards hurricane season and see whether or not something might come out of there as well. But obviously, that is still a few weeks away. But that's going to do it for this week's update, weekly tropical weather outlook. And of course, I do these every single Saturday from now up until the Eastern Pacific hurricane season, which once again begins May 15th next month. So, we're definitely approaching that very soon. But until then, we're going to continue to do these weekly tropical weather outlooks. So if you like them and you're new to the channel, especially, and this is the first time you're seeing a video on my channel, would really recommend if you subscribe, like this video as well, of course, if you liked it, and also comment your thoughts below and ask any questions, and I'll hopefully be able to respond. Have a great weekend and a great week ahead next week, and I'll see you guys back here next Saturday.